Welcome to Wellness is a Way of Life, the podcast for female leaders seeking sustainable energy, clarity, and confidence. I'm Megan Swan, your guide on a journey to mastering wellness as an integrated part of your life. Let's explore personalized wellness strategies that truly resonate with who you are. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm super excited to have a friend, a client, and really a woman that inspires me so deeply, Sara Jonsdottir. She is the visionary founder and CEO of Revol Cares, a company revolutionizing menstrual care with medically recognized toxin-free, leak-proof underwear. Driven to highlight the gaps in women's health and sustainability, Sara has made waves in the market, raising the bar in safety and efficacy. Through her innovation, human-centered designs, and fueled by her passion to challenge harmful stigmas in period care, she is committed to creating products that empower women and menstruators everywhere. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be chatting today.
Yes. When we first started working together, I then went and perused all your social media, and I was just so taken aback by this lovely, charming man who is just unashamed to be talking about period underwear and like getting into it. And I mean, I think you guys do such an amazing job of removing taboos or just making it lighter. And so talk us through first, like how did this come about? And I know that you like actually made them back in the day. You're not still making every pair.
No, thank goodness. I am no longer sitting at the sewing machine. I love that you right off the bat mentioned Mayo, my husband and business partner, who is he's our chief marketing officer. So yes, he's a male doing all the marketing for a period underwear company, but he is so passionate about it, and I think it translates really well. Like even when he's doing those videos, he very clearly is excited to bring our product to people that have heavy flows. So to kind of go
He's just
back
such a
to,
breath of fresh air. And I think it's really like catches, at least
yeah,
me, it catches you off guard, like
yeah,
how incredible it feels to have a man talking about this like very comfortably. And like you say, he's clearly excited and passionate about what he's doing.
he's so passionate. I mean, it comes from a place of like true empathy. Like he watched his mom have a really heavy flow while he was growing up and saw her really struggle with it. And that, it relates to our origin story. So I'll go back to where we began. I had started the what we now call Revol Cares as just like a Etsy shop, handmade period underwear because I had made them for myself. They were originally a school project. And literally, the project was design a product that solves a problem. And I leaked every month. Like, truly, I would double up on pads. I would have be like pads and tampons, and I leaked through pretty much every single month. There was one instance where had just gotten like a design internship at Canada's largest athletic brand. And I leaked through my pad, my jeans, like onto the chair.
Mm.
And it was a light gray chair in an open workspace. And yeah, that was the kind of pinnacle point for me where I was about to climb the corporate ladder. And I was like, I genuinely need a solution. Like, there is no way I can sit through presentations or do a presentation myself. And so, having my background, so I studied technical apparel design, I decided to do this project because it was my last year project. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do the thing that I really need. And I created heavy flow, leak proof underwear and genuinely just created it for myself. Like, had zero intention. I had a full time job lined up immediately after graduation. And I, just originally created it so that I could get through a work day. But then I had 35 female classmates at the time. And as soon as, because we had to pitch within our class, like what we were doing. And as soon as I did, it was just like the hands went up of like, I need this. Like, can you make me a pair? And it like very organically snowballed from there. So I would make it for my friends. Then suddenly I was getting emails from strangers, like, hey, I hear you make this underwear. Can I somehow get some from you? I met a stranger on the side, like the corner of like Canby and 6th in Vancouver, and just like handed her a bag of underwear. She gave me some cash, and it was like, it was very, if you knew, you knew. And then I kind of was like, okay, well, started an Etsy shop. Again, like it was very one-off. Like I was making every single pair. And then I met my now husband, Mayo, who has a background in sales. So I'm the maker, I'm the product inventor, but I'm not a natural salesperson. And so when we met, he just really resonated with my story, having experienced his mom. And just, I think being like someone that really can empathize with other people's experiences. And so he has a background in sales, and like he grew up doing door-to-door sales, like knocking on strangers' doors, trying to sell them, I think home security systems and stuff like that. And so when we met, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm doing this thing. It's like not really making a lot of money, but I'm really passionate about it. And he was like, oh, I was doing like little farmers markets and like little craft shows at the time. And it would be like $200 or $250 for a table. And I'd make like 275. So I'd like maybe make $25 profit, but that wasn't even for the cost of the underwear. So it was not a profitable business at that time. And so he was like, oh, can I just join you? Like, can I just like come for one afternoon at one of these shows? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, and this is 2017. So we talk more openly about periods now than we did back then. And so not only was I selling like a very taboo product, but there was a man standing at my table selling it with me. But the first day that he came with me to one of those shows, we did $1,000 simply because he was just like, here's like a little script, maybe try doing this, like took his sales background and just like basically helped show me like how to do it.
So,
Yeah. And at that point I was just like, okay, you're sticking with me forever. Like I think we were like 2 months into dating at that point. And I was like, you're coming to every show, like you gotta help me with this. And that's part of like we were very passionate from the very beginning, but it was also like pretty much instantaneously we started working on the business together. And so we started it very organically. Like this is 2017 when we met, like late 2017. We technically say that we launched the business in 2019 because the first like year and a half it was really an Etsy shop. Yeah, it was like it was modest, and we were both working jobs and stuff like that. But we learned at that time. So in 2019, we decided to go full time, both of us. We got married that year. We were like, let's take this on. Like this is our mission and our path. We decided to sign up for every farmers market and craft show we could get our hands on. And at this point, I'm still sewing every single pair. And he's doing all the cutting and like getting everything ready. And we took that year, we had a goal of $100,000, and we did like 2 to 4 markets a month. We spent over 700 hours talking to customers, and we ended up doing 160,000 that year. It was
intense.
it was intense, but what we learned was we spent 700 hours talking to customers, and I go back to those days all the time. Like I think about the farmers market days. What questions did people ask? Like it truly was like the thing that I would say like carved out what we were doing. We really niched down into like heavy flow. It's how it started, but we really started to like evolve it. Okay, we need to be even heavier. We're now like the heaviest flow underwear on the market. We really focused in on like customers wanted to understand that it was a safe product to use. There's a lot of gray and a lot of questions around menstrual products. And so that's when we started to do like chemical testing and absorbency testing and all these things to like validate what we were putting out into the market, even though nobody requires that we do that. And then that led us to become the first medically recognized leak-proof underwear on the market with the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of Canada. They have a brand recognition program. We're the only leak-proof underwear that's recognized by them. So it's all been a really wild journey, and now I don't sew any of them, thankfully.
So yeah, like give
um,
us like the end of the arc. Like what are the current milestones? Be bold. Tell us.
yeah.
I mean, you're in the United States now, you're across
Mhm.
Canada, and it's like only just going to get bigger and bigger. It's absolutely impossible for you to be making them. It's been the case for that for
Yes.
several years, no?
Yeah, exactly. It just got to the point where we couldn't even continue to be locally made. We kind of tapped out on every resource available locally. So we did move our manufacturing overseas, which has allowed us to have a much bigger inventory base and actually like better quality product. And we're now available in over 3,000 grocery, pharmacy, and health food stores. So a lot of like Safeway, London Drugs, like Sobeys across Canada, Fred Meyer in the States are where we're trying to really bring the product is where women and menstruators actually buy their period products. So we have our online shop, but our main mission,
Talk us through that a bit because that's I think really interesting when you're selling to a new store and they want to put
yeah,
it in the underwear section and you're like, no, because no one's going to think to look.
yeah,
And it's so important that it's there with the tampons, right? Like it's
yeah,
very clearly just not another, a better choice than
yeah,
Drex,
and
for example.
in a lot of those stores were the first reusable they've ever had in the period aisle, which I mean, for sustainability purposes, it's huge what we're doing. It for us, like we've always positioned the product as, and I'm going to put this in quotes, a sanitary device is basically what we'll pitch it as because we really and we make sure we're talking to the buyers of the period aisle. So we're not interested in being a garment. We package it in boxes, similar to how you buy a,
It's so
box of
cute.
tampons
So
or
cute.
something. So we've made sure that like we can be slotted into that aisle, no problem. And we're really like, I would say the sell through is so good because it's so refreshing to see something new in that aisle. There's been like one invention in that aisle in the last like 40 years. Like the menstrual cup came out in the 80s. And then we kind of just stagnated. There's some, cotton pads or natural pads have come out, but really no like new device in that aisle. And so for us, it's like to be placed next to legacy brands of tampons and pads and be providing like a significantly better protection, better for the environment. It's just such an easy and accessible way for people to try something new for their period. And we win them when the underwear really works and they're able to get through a full day of work without having to worry about leaks. So it's been a really incredible journey. We've only been in retail for the last 2 years. May will be, which is in a month, will be like the 2 year mark of having been in retail.
Wow.
And it's been just like uncontrollably explosive, basically.
Yeah. So let's just quickly talk, because I'm sure most women listening to this podcast are aware of, the health risks of using
Yeah.
products that are containing microplastics and all sorts of other
Yeah.
chemicals. I just saw, I won't name the brand, but everyone's favorite yoga pants, like right around the crotch area, tends to be like the highest concentration of microplastics. So why, I mean, it's amazing that this fabric is good for the environment, but I mean, maybe more importantly to most people, it's better for you. Can you detail that out a little bit?
Yeah, there one thing people don't often know is that like the vulva and the vaginal area is like one of the most absorbent areas of your body, like like your external body, the skin of the vulva. I don't remember how many times more, but it's significantly more absorbent. So we want to be pretty careful about what products even what underwear we're wearing, just like regular underwear.
Yeah.
So when I designed the product, I had already switched to only natural underwear because I had been prone to yeast infections and a doctor had told me don't ever wear nylon or polyester underwear, even if it has like a cotton gusset, no go, just wear natural underwear. So then when I designed the product, I, of course, was going to make it with natural fibers because there was no way I was going to, for 7 days of the week or 7 days of the month, wear a synthetic underwear. And so we only use natural fibers in our absorbency, so bamboo and cotton and modal. And it just allows for greater breathability. I kind of mentioned it before, but we've done like regular chemical testing. So we do it right now in batches when we make new product. We just do it to keep our kind of like quality control, always just testing. But the significance of why we test is because there are some have been issues in this industry
Mhm.
with chemicals being in the underwear, treatments on fabrics and stuff like that. And all those things get absorbed near and around the vulva. And it's so, so important to wear something that isn't going to be adding harm. It's just there to, you know, absorb and be comfortable to wear. Something that and we can like kind of chat about it further into this, but something that I always say is like, it really rocks me that I can put my product on the shelf of a pharmacy and there is zero regulation around what I do. Like, there's nobody that checks anything. Health Canada doesn't require us to even be registered as a company. In the US, we have to be registered with FDA. They actually require more than Canada.
Hmm.
And yeah, which would naturally surprise a lot of people. And what I think is I put a lot of effort into making sure our product is always safe. But I know how much that is self, like we put that standard. It's like we're putting that standard on ourselves. And those are the things that I think like it just almost like keeps me up at night because I know that if I didn't have those standards, I could still put it on the shelf. There would be there's zero checks and balances around these products. And I unfortunately think that that is not what the customer understands when they're buying it in especially a pharmacy setting or anywhere. When you walk into the period aisle, it is like you would naturally think that these products are vetted and that they're good products and safe for you to use. And I'm not saying all products are bad. It's just that there just is no system in place right now to make sure that they are not.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I do think it's changing and that more and more women are highly educated and conscious about these
Yeah.
things, and, know that they, to some degree, they need to do their own research and just make
Mhm.
better choices than what seems was the status quo when we were teenagers.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, like that's not the case, I don't think, globally, probably. So, I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, there's so much work to be done. And we'll talk a little bit more about the work that you're going to do on that later. Uh,
Yeah.
so you grow this company. And so how old is it at this point? In
Right now, we're almost at 6 years.
So 6 years old. At what point did you get to in the journey that you thought to, or maybe knew that you needed to seek funding to scale to the next level?
There have been multiple stages where I definitely recognized that we needed to seek funding. Whether we could seek funding was another question. There is a huge, obviously, there's a huge funding gap for female founded businesses. Also, I would say like female centric businesses. There's a new wave now, a lot of investors focus on women's health. It is definitely like the trendy thing to invest in. But I would say 2 years ago, when we really needed to grow, we had like no access. We couldn't get debt because we didn't have enough traction and we weren't profitable. And we really struggled, like really, really struggled to get investment. And so you have to get a little savvy, on how do we do it. We did a friends and family round, and we thankfully had a lot of friends that put in small checks, but it added up to enough to help us kind of like take that next leap. And only just in this last year is when I'd say I did a proper fundraising round. And it was once I finally had the traction. Like it truly, I think there might have been, potentially earlier we could have raised, but this was the right time. We had incredible traction. Our numbers are good. We figured out our margins and all that stuff. And then I had spent basically most of 2024 networking, building out kind of like the people that I would seek investment from. I was able to I closed it January of 2025, but I started basically December 1st and took 6 weeks and raised $2 million, which would be yeah, thank you. Which would be our like seed round. I'm like labeling what the round is. I was like, I don't know, seed something. But yeah, that was an incredible achievement to be able to raise it quickly, have really, really amazing people support us. So we only had angel investors and only Canadian angel investors. So that was really interesting and actually all local to the Lower Mainland. So like they're very close to me. They're people I can pick up the phone and call, which is just a huge added bonus and added value to myself as a founder.
Oh my gosh. I love talking about this. You get to me
Mhm.
really excited for you. So it was 6 weeks. I was thought at 8 weeks. So 6 weeks,
Mhm.
and to parse out that you were strategic, that it wasn't all equity that you were giving away. At this point, again, you have so much leverage. Like, why not?
Mhm.
For all the gaps in the market, there are a lot of programs, at least in Canada, really trying to support female entrepreneurs and, Canadian companies specifically.
Mhm.
What was that like a conscious part of your thinking from the get-go, or it was really just like, here's all the ways, let's see which works, and kind of had it fall as the cards may fall?
I felt like so over the last few years, I think we've discussed this. There are a lot of resources available to female founders, and I dipped into pretty much every one that I could access. And I learned a lot about what kind of investment I'd be looking for. I knew that venture capital wasn't the right thing for us right now. It might be in the future. I knew that I was looking for, I wanted to keep it Canadian if I could. I knew that I wanted to do blended equity and debt because I had learned how to present my numbers in a way that made sense to lenders and was able to achieve, pretty significant debt, which also like you have to be ready to take that risk for yourself because some people think, equity is a lot easier because it's low risk. But then for me, it's also really expensive capital. So I'm less risk adverse towards debt. And so it was really nice to be able to do a blend of equity and debt. Equity portion actually helped us get more debt because once we were able to tell the lenders we have X many people backing us, we were then able to get more debt. So it kind of like and it was a lot of
This weird
lining them
popularity
both up.
contest, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was like a lot of like lining up. Like I was like getting more equity because I was able to say I'm getting debt as well because they do like, even investors, they like to see that you're not just going to dilute, your cap table as much as you can to get as much money in the door. It's like they like seeing a blend of debt and equity.
Yeah, it's like social proof both ways, right? Like they both want to see a
Exactly.
little bit of the other. And of course, with the investors, like you already had some angels on board. So that I think made the whole conversation easier. And we talked about we've been working together almost for a
Mhm.
year at this point.
Yeah.
And I was so excited when we started, and it really evolved as we worked, so 12 months at this point. And
Yeah.
this raise came at about the 6 month, 7 month
Hmm.
mark. And we just mapped out on one of our calls, like your whole, you'd done all this grunt work. And of course, you'd won awards. Like you really were out there in terms of this opportunity that you were on people's radar. And so a lot of it was like, let's strategize. How are you going to go back and really just help these investors get excited about this incredible opportunity that you have for them? It was a completely different vibe from the first time that you were raising, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Like I would say I say that I started raising December 1st because that's when you and I had our call. And because I had been kind of prepping from November 15th to December 1st, I was kind of like, okay, I knew I was going to raise. I was trying to finalize all the details. And then we had our call December 1st, and it like completely kicked my butt into gear. It was like manifesting who I wanted on the cap table. I was driving the conversation. I felt much more focused on delivering the value that they were going to see in myself as a founder, the vision of the company, like where it was going. I was a little bit focused on showing them, here are my numbers. I can prove to you I've done it. And I'm like, here I am versus this is where we're going. And I felt like that. I mean, we'd already kind of been working on that, like a lot of like, what's the 10-year goal? What's the 5-year goal? Like kind of looking at those things. And so being able to like utilize that and be able to say, we actually have a vision for where we're going. This is, where I ideally would like to see us in 5 years. And then I truly feel like when I mean, I'm so into manifesting. And so for me, it's just like writing it down, like writing down. You had me write down who are my five, if I could close the round with five people, which I didn't. There were quite a few more, but who are the five people that I would want to see on my cap table? And I think I got 3 out of 5 of them on the
Wow.
cap table. Yeah. And they didn't close out the round, but it gave me this motivation of like, I know. And also like, I think when we started the call, I kind of was like, I'm not really sure how I'm going to do this. Like, I know I have the numbers, I know I have the vision, I know I have this. And then I think you made me like list out people that I know that could potentially invest or could lead me to someone. And I had like 2 pages worth of people. And you were just like, why are you not reaching out to them? Like, you should just be pitching yourself to more people. And that, yeah, just like kicked my butt into gear. And I was just like, I put up a whole whiteboard right in front of my computer of, my thermometer of like how much I was raising. I listed the people, and then I listed like all the people I can reach out to that could connect me to someone, or maybe they could invest. And a few of them ended up investing. And it really just, yeah, like I feel like I took the 6 weeks, which was over the holidays as well, and just completely like, yeah, took the reins and raised it in 6 weeks. So it was really empowering to be able to see that I could do it. I think that was also a really big accomplishment for myself. Is like it was a big milestone as a female founder. Something that I remember years ago being like, oh, I wonder if I'll ever be able to do it. I wonder if it's something that's going to be in my path. And when we decided to raise, it was kind of like we have to. Like we had a lot of stores wanting to open more doors with us and like wanting to put our product into more stores. And so it was kind of like, it's got to happen now. And I think that also kind of helped kick it into gear is like it when there's a little bit of a time crunch, you put your full energy and I'm all about, like I said, all about manifesting, put it on paper, like it's going to be done. And we did it.
I think it's so the urgency piece is so key. Like ultimately seeking these funds is very much like sales in that when you can create that the juicy energy of like you got to get in and it's
Yeah.
now or never and
Yeah.
people like really respond to that. And I love that you closed 3 of those 5 that we originally had on that list. And then just the magic of and the reframe with networking. Like it's anytime you're talking to someone, it's not you're necessarily asking that person. You're just broadening, expanding the people that know about what you're doing and the opportunity. And you just never know who they might know. And introduce you into even more, interesting, powerful, whatever people. And I love that you did it so locally too. And you were saying how funny it is, like you little by little figured out like they basically all know each other. Like it's
Yeah. It
incredible.
ended up being that I just like kind of tapped into a network of people that were all very familiar with each other. And then they kept wanting to like that. And this is part of the strategy is like you create a pool party everybody wants to attend. And that's kind of how I think about it is like once you get one person going, then it's like, oh, well, they want to pull in their best friend. They want to pull in the person that they know. And so it literally just kind of snowballed from there. But it took reaching out to a bunch of people to then tap into that network. But yeah, it truly was like, I had one instance where someone was like, this is at the like literally like the last hour of the race. Like it was like 4 p.m. the day I was going to close. And the person was like, yeah, like definitely I'm going to invest. And he's like, I know you're closing today, but like I'm having lunch with a friend tomorrow. Can I tell them about this investment? Could you extend it for like, 12 hours or whatever? And I was just like, oh, what's that person's name? They're like, it's so and so. And I was like, oh, they invested yesterday.
Sorry.
And so it was just like, I was like, I didn't know that they knew each other, So I think also being that I tapped into a very local network, that's not surprising that that investors of similar like size angel level would know each other,
Yeah.
so it
The
was
other
cool.
story I love from this, going back to just the reality of how brutal it is for female founders to raise, specifically in the VC, but it's, similar across any type of funds that you're seeking. There's all these biases and, we did a lot of work. You were in great shape, like mindset wise, physically, energetically, spiritually. I'd argue that whole, we did like a lot of work. And so it came to a point where you're being positioned by an investor that like that they don't understand what this is all about. And you're like,
Mhm.
I got you. Like you totally brought this new energy where it like, I don't know, it was in that moment, but it just clicked for you. It's like, I don't need you to get this. I need you to
Mhm.
be excited about the opportunity. And, you completely owned your expertise.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really interesting. There were, a couple. I did get very blended investors, female and male, but there were some males that obviously, like, this is not maybe a product that has touched their lives.
Mhm.
And so there was a learning curve for sure there. And there were three in particular that, like, they were like, everything makes sense numbers wise, traction, where you're going, but they were just like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get why it's such a big deal. And and it, to me, it was almost surprising that my answer, like, I surprised myself when I was like, I, I don't need you to get it. I need you to get that I get it and that I am the one that understands the customer and the product better than anybody else. And when I responded that way, one of the investors was like, okay, yep, and invested. And he actually
Do you
told me
think
that,
they'd be used to, like, in society, we're used to a man talking like that, like
yeah,
it doesn't matter about if you understand it, I understand it, I'm the actor. Like, just like
yeah,
owning that power.
yeah, yeah. And I think that is exactly it, is that I just had the energy of like, and I probably just conveyed trust, like just, and that's what I was really towards the end. It was less so about my traction and my numbers and more so about having them trust me as a founder. And that was, like, I would say one of the large learning curves through raising was that one of them even said to me, like, I'm really just investing in you and I'm investing in you as a steward of my money, is how one of them phrased it. And it was just an interesting insight to see that yeah, you can have all the traction, you can have all the great stuff on paper, but they are really going to invest in you. And that's where I kind of took that positioning of like, I am the one to understand this deeply. And I just need to make sure you understand that I understand it. And it worked out beautifully.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to full circle, and then I want to dive
Hmm.
like the 10-year vision stuff. So
Yeah.
full circle there is like, how limiting is it when you're a woman that's dealing with like this ongoing fear of staining a chair? Like, you're thinking like all the time of like, oh, those 7 or 10, you're when you're menstruating, you're just
Yeah.
planning your whole life differently. It's so stressful. Like,
Mhm.
it can potentially be humiliating. Like, hopefully you're in an environment, and again, this is changing, but certainly years ago, there wouldn't be any. Hopefully you have like a female ally that would kind of
Yeah.
get it and
Yeah.
get help feel like you had somebody had your back. But it's just so emotional, so stressful, and like completely avoidable.
Completely. We I think we see so much about like the mental load that women and females carry. Something that we get so many emails about is when people have started using our product, they'll email me like, I had no idea how much stress I was carrying around my period, because it is exactly that. It's coming, so you're already carrying that. You're maybe going through PMS, but then when it arrives, you have to pack enough supplies. You have to be able to make those supplies accessible so that you can grab them, go to the washroom, because not all washrooms have supplies. And then you might be sitting in a meeting, or you might be working a 12-hour shift. We have a lot of shift workers that find, well, if they're a paramedic, they might be on scene for a certain amount of time and they can't take a bathroom break. They can't leave if they are leaking. You might be, I literally pitched to hundreds of people while on my period. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that if I had been on my period, I would have been standing still. I would have been making sure I am not, if I didn't have my underwear,
Yeah.
I would have been making sure that I was not moving so that my pad wouldn't, shift. And that's where my mind would be, not on my presentation and, wowing the crowd. And so you can think of just every instance someone might have their period, and like it's a barrier to just existing and like going about your life. But it's also something that we want to, we always just like to have, we like to approach period neutrality. So we're not trying to make it like the underwear is gonna make your period, like a happy dancing, whatever. Like you're going to be just so free from anything, but you're going to be free from the stress of it. And you're just going to be able to go about your life just like you do the other 3 weeks of the month. And it's just trying to keep that same ability throughout
I mean, I do think you're definitely leveling up the comfort, and
yeah, we are.
have cute, fun colors and styles. So
We
it's
do.
like
It's a little bit of period positivity, but we do like to like, it's at
we're not going to
least
take away your
period
cramps
neutrality.
necessarily.
Yeah, we can't do the cramps. However, if you are going from tampons or menstrual cups, we've seen significant, just like anecdotal evidence, just obviously from our customers, myself included, cramping lessens, your flow lessens. It's just an easier period to manage. And a lot of that just has to do with your allowing it to free flow into
Yeah.
underwear.
Yeah. And I'm obsessed with the thong. Like you have to be the only
Yeah.
on the market with.
I mean, we love versatility. We love to give that absorbency in whatever form you need it.
Love that. All right. So to land the plane, we've done this incredible work on your 10-year vision. And, you already had kind of dabbled in some of this more in just your research and in current things you're trying to get done in your business. But then you realize that this is like something really important that you're passionate about leaving as a legacy. So walk us through what I'm sure no one knows about certain products crossing borders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of my biggest passions, I always say it's my 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5, is really looking at like how do agencies and different government bodies look at menstrual products and women's health. And one of my biggest kind of stones or mountains that I'm climbing right now is, it's so simple, but the Customs and Border Patrol, who are the ones that define what duties get charged on products. And I'm not even going to talk about tariffs. I'm just talking about duties. We're not going there. We're just talking about duties, the duties that are unaffected, have always been, that are normal.
Same.
Yeah, same. They are so inappropriately defined for instance, our product. They will only define it as underwear, not as a medical device, despite us having FDA registration. There are discrepancies across male to female incontinence products, which often are very parallel. And when I
It's the
say
same product, like is it
yeah,
just like pink or blue packaging or
yeah,
whatever?
basically.
Not even?
But the discrepancies are differences in duty rates. And probably don't even just say it, but the male ones are less than the female ones.
Of course.
There are issues with menstrual products being dutied higher than toilet paper, gauze, name it, probably is dutied higher. And all these things, there's been huge movements of removing the taxes off of menstrual products, but these are hidden fees that nobody sees unless you're doing business to business. You understand like the back end of it. A business is getting charged maybe 15% on their product to sell it across the border. And we all understand we trade between countries all the time. And that cost is then put on the customer because eventually the price gets increased. And so we see it on menstrual products all the time that they're getting a higher duty rate.
Is there, have
Literally,
you asked, do they give you reasoning specifically comparing? I'm sure the menstrual products have a higher duty than incontinence products, correct?
yeah.
So very
So
similar products. If you're thinking of like pads to pads, just different.
yeah, yeah, exactly. If you just compare incontinence pads to menstrual pads, they're composed of the same thing. They're developed very similarly. The defining reason is that one is a diagnosable condition. So incontinence is something that you would get diagnosed with. Menstruation is not. So because it happens
To everyone,
um,
you don't need to be
to
diagnosed.
everyone and it doesn't need to be diagnosed. We don't go to the doctor and say, hey, something's happening, and then we get diagnosed with menstruation, then it does not get, I don't know, I guess it doesn't get classified in the same way that an incontinence product is. And that is that like I've done the research, that is the defining reason why incontinence products are dutied less than menstrual products. There's a lot of issues around regulation around that as well because it's not a diagnosable condition. And so I'm like, do we need to pivot and make every young menstruating person that just, got their period, instead of their, elder telling them what it is, send them to the doctor and get diagnosed with menstruation? I don't know.
But so on the
But I'm
continuum of like toilet paper, incontinence, pads, like toilet paper has no duty or lower duty?
no duty.
No duty on toilet paper, less
Mhm.
on incontinence products, more then again on.
Yeah.
So your end goal would be eliminating them, like so it's down with toilet paper.
My my end goal. So because there's different classifications depending on what the menstrual product is made out of. It's if it's a disposable, sometimes there's less duty. So there's like different duty rates throughout. But my goal basically is to create a movement towards adjusting the policies around these things. I think it's probably going to take a bit of time, but my first step towards it is because our product is a blended product. So it's an incontinence. We do provide our product for bladder leaks, mild and moderate incontinence, and menstruation. And I think there's a lot of other products that do the same thing. And so hopefully if we can show, because basically what you can actually file for a reclassification. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm filing for a reclassification. And if I can prove that a product can be a blended, then I'm hoping that we'll be able to show that a menstrual product can be used as an incontinence product and vice versa, and then therefore get a different duty rate. I still don't know exactly where that's going to land, but I'm I'm advocating for it to be duty free, basically, because just like urine or having to urinate, it's not a diagnosable condition, but toilet paper is duty free. Those are the kind of things that I try to like lean into is like if you're going to define that because menstruation is not a diagnosable condition, and so therefore it needs to be dutied, why well, why is toilet paper not? I'm hoping we're not going to suddenly see toilet paper being dutied, but there's a lot of just discrepancies across the board. And I think if we can shed some light on it, hopefully there can be change.
Yeah, I love that you're shaking up this conversation and I know that you're the person to do it. So I'm excited to see where it goes. Well, this has been awesome. Anything else you wanted to add? What are you excited about, right? 2025,
Um,
Revol Cares, final thoughts.
there is a lot going on. I think there's some very exciting new expansions into retail that I'm excited to talk about when they happen. They're not quite there, but they're almost there. But I did want to, if you're okay with it, do a little shout out to the work that we do because I posted about this, but I did actually just have like this realization of I've worked with a lot of coaches before and I've tried a lot of different things. And I kind of talked about it broadly how my husband is my business partner. I didn't even talk about it on this call. I'm also a mother.
Yeah.
I,
I bring
I
it up,
have
so I'm
a
like, okay,
child.
I doesn't want to talk about it. I'll leave it up.
No, I'm, I'm in business mode, but I have a child that blends into everything I do. And what I've absolutely loved about the work that we do is that it is the full scope of, I'd say, my existence. Like it is everything from my diet to my health to my like health as a mother, my health as a CEO. And it felt like it just like clicked one day. I was like, that's why this works so well. Is like it's not a coach that singularly looks at like one focus in your life. It's a totally broad focus. And I feel like that helped me be so strong through the raise. It's helped me be really strong as a mother and like enjoy toddlerhood so much. Like I genuinely enjoy toddlerhood. And even though it's a wild roller coaster, I think just soaking up every moment and being present has been like such a cool journey. And so that's my plug for you because I'm honored to be on this podcast because it is just been like so incredible working with you.
Oh, thank you so much. That was so lovely to receive. And yeah, it's just an absolute honor to support you. I believe so strongly in everything you're doing. And I know you're just gonna keep shifting the paradigm.
Yeah,
Big
that's the hope.
doing. Yeah. So if somebody wants to get their hands on some, can you list off a few places? You kind of already did, but you can order online at revolcares.com.
Mhm,
Definitely follow them on Instagram because, their marketing is amazing, like funny, fun. Oh, I
mhm.
just like, even though I don't necessarily suffer from some of those things, is like, I think the way that you handle it is just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So shout out to Maya.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, he's incredible. He's the brains behind the marketing and can take all the credit. But yeah, no, if you want to find us, you can find us super easily online, but then also in most like pharmacies, London Drugs, Safeway across the country, Sobeys. And then if you're in the US, we are in quite a number of stores, anywhere from like Fresh Time to Kroger to, Fruitful Yield and tons of like kind of mid-sized chains. Easiest is just to go on our website and hit find a store, and then you'll be able to find it based on your location.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I'm so excited for the future.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Wellness is a Way of Life. Are you ready to make wellness a natural part of your routine? Let's stay connected. Go to meganswanwellness.com. Until next time, live well and thrive.